Kawhi Leonard hits a couple free throws, and 114-110 is the final as Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors win their first NBA championship. Kawhi Leonard will probably win Finals MVP. He is second of his career. He earned Finals MVP with the Spurs in 2014, and he'll join LeBron James and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the only player to win the Finals MVP for multiple teams. Toronto, hope you had them on the money line, plus 2.5. 212 was the total. The over hits. The Toronto Raptors close out the Warriors in Game 6. So the last game at Oracle is the last game of the season. 3 straight home losses for Golden State. So in the NBA Finals, they fail to win one game at home, and they close it out in their last game with a loss. Klay Thompson injured in the third quarter. End of the third quarter, he went for 30 points, but he did not play after that injury with about 2:22 to play in the third.
Yeah, Klay Thompson left the game in that third quarter, and then he ended up leaving the arena before the game was over on crutches. So no Kevin Durant, and then no Klay Thompson. And the Warriors were still in position with the ball in the hands of Steph Curry when they inbound the ball with 9.6. That's not a bad shot.
No.
It's a pretty good look for Steph.
It was heavily defended, though, so what are you going to do?
But if you're going to say that's a shot to win the title,
yeah,
I'm good with that.
I'll take that. All right, let's welcome in Bill Ryder, the host of Writer's Block. Bill, the NBA champions are from Toronto, Canada for the first time in NBA history. We the North, we the champs. What a game. Perhaps, I mean, this game was incredible. One of the best games I've ever seen. A lot to break down here. Just your instant reaction, your instant analysis of the Raptors winning the NBA title.
Yeah, Keem, you said it. I mean, my instant reaction is I've now, I think, seen everything. Maybe we've seen everything in an NBA game, in an NBA series, just in this series. I mean, what a remarkable series of storylines. And we know this life isn't fair. Sports aren't fair. Injuries happen. The Warriors got their first NBA championship with this core group of guys when the Cleveland Cavaliers lost 2 critical guys in Kevin Love for the entire finals and Kyrie for most of the finals. But I still can't help but think, as a fan, we all got a little bit cheated about what could have been. Kevin Durant out, okay. The Klay Thompson injury, obviously hugely significant in this game, and just so unfair for Klay Thompson. Great guy, great player, selfless. Everybody around the NBA loves him, is having a career game, but as Bill Parcells once said, you are what your record says you are, and the Toronto Raptors, for the first time ever, are NBA champions. And I heard you guys talking. You're right. They earned it. They did it. They got there, and good for them.
Klay Thompson leaves this game at the end of the third quarter. He went to the locker room. They had to bring him back because he needed to shoot his free throws if he's going to play the rest of the way. It turns out he doesn't. Left knee injury. If he plays in the fourth quarter, is this a different outcome, Bill?
I think it is. I mean, you guys are right. Like, it is a stunner that in the final 3 games at Oracle Arena, I don't think you can overstate. And I've covered the last 9 or 8 NBA finals before this one. Many of those obviously took place at Oracle. That is a raucous and special place. I'm stunned. I'm just stunned that Golden State couldn't win one of their 3 final games in that arena. And I do think a big part of the reason is Klay Thompson was out. Steph had an okay game, right? He was fine. But this was Klay Thompson in the zone. We've seen this before. The guy has scored in his career almost 40 points in a quarter. He goes into these places where he just can't miss. He was in that place, and but for the injury, and you never know, but for the injury, I'm certainly betting most of my life savings that the Warriors win this game, and there's Game 7.
We talk about perhaps this series has an asterisk on it because of Kevin Durant, because of Klay Thompson here in Game 6. What do you make of that? Because I know we're going to be talking about that in the next couple days and the weeks ahead, but you also have to go back to 2015. The Cavaliers weren't at full strength. Kevin Love injured. Kyrie Irving injured. The Warriors won a championship. I mean, this is similar.
I absolutely agree. There is no asterisk for me. I mean, if you're a Warriors fan and despite your multiple championships, you want to feel sorry for yourself, you have every right to do that. But for those of us that are a little more dispassionate, fans, sports bettors, sports media, they're NBA champions, end of story. You're right. 2015, Kevin Love doesn't play in the series. Kyrie Irving plays 43 minutes in Game 1 and then gets injured. He's out. LeBron has a miraculous series, but they don't get the win, obviously. They don't win that championship. 2016, Draymond Green kicks somebody where he shouldn't, misses a huge Game 5 at Oracle, and you talk to people in that Warriors organization, they'll still tell you, not making excuses, but they'll tell you Steph Curry was not himself coming off that injury when he returned to that series in the first round against Portland, and that was part of it. Doesn't matter. Cleveland Cavaliers are NBA champions. The list goes on and on and on. The best ability is availability. Luck and the fates and the roll of the dice from the basketball gods are all part of it. I feel bad for the Warriors. I would love to have seen, selfishly, a Game 7. I think it would have been an amazing thing as a sports fan to watch the Splash Brothers minus KD, see if they could take on Kawhi and that amazing Raptors team. But that isn't what happened, and the Toronto Raptors absolutely deserve every ounce of that trophy. They're lifting now, will be lifting soon. All the confetti, all of it, they earn no asterisk for me whatsoever.
Bill, how about the roster construction for the Toronto Raptors? We trade here for Kawhi Leonard, Dwayne Casey gone. We promote Nick Nurse his first year as a head coach, and he wins the NBA championship. I mean, what does this say not only about Nick Nurse, but what does it say big picture about this organization?
Yeah, we talk a lot of gambling here on CBS Sports HQ. I know it's only June, but can I nominate Masai Ujiri for Gambler of the Year and maybe Gambler of the Century? You're right. He trades for Kawhi Leonard, and maybe this will prove not to be true, but every single person in the NBA before the trade, since the trade, right now today, believes almost absolutely Kawhi's going to the Clippers. Masai Ujiri knew that. He fires Coach of the Year Dwayne Casey and gets criticized by a bunch of talking heads, including me, and elevates a longtime coach, but not at the NBA level, in Nick Nurse, a guy in this country up until this point best known for coaching a non-NBA team in Iowa. And they go out there and they win 3 games at Oracle. President of Basketball Operations Masai Ujiri, who has won an Executive of the Year award in the past, just pulled off one of the gutsiest gambles I've ever seen in sports or non-sports alike. What he did, Nick Nurse is, the Bucks won and so much in the fourth quarter today. I was talking to Kenya Martin on the show earlier. He'd never seen it in a 15-year NBA career. I'd never seen it. I stopped texting sources when we saw it in the first couple games ago at 7 or 8 GMs and executives and coaches. Have you ever seen a Bucks won? This Raptors team personified Ujiri's gamble, Kawhi Leonard's absolute calm, and Nick Nurse's total confidence in the face of all those doubters, and it's a big part of the reason they're NBA champions right now.
Defense wins championships. That's the saying in the NFL, but it works here in the NBA because you're right, Bill. The Toronto Raptors were stifling on defense. Golden State had 10 first-half turnovers. I mean, they really struggled to get going. And you take a look at this Raptors team, Kawhi Leonard's going to earn Finals MVP. But how about Fred VanVleet coming off the bench in Game 6, another outstanding performance. He goes for 22 points.
Yeah, what do you have, 3 or 4 ridiculously critical threes in the second half in the fourth quarter? Kyle Lowry was awesome the entire season, expelling those demons and talk he couldn't play in the postseason. Siakam, after an amazing Game 1, career Game 1 of these finals, was awesome in this game. Akeem, I'm with you, man. Defense is everything. Entering this game, the Warriors had won every game where they'd played defensively well, and their defensive rating was, I think, 108 in wins. And in games where they were abysmal defensively, they lost. And while they had some moments defensively tonight, there were a lot of letdowns. They weren't closing on three-point shooters. You saw several times Steph Curry among these guys, Warriors complaining to the officials instead of getting back on defense, and it led to some points in transition for that Raptors team. I mean, there's so many factors, so many variables. This was like a three-dimensional Star Wars version of chess out there, but a critical part of what we saw, I'm with you, that Raptors defense, they were 5th in defensive rating this regular season, was awesome almost every step of the way in the finals. And that Warriors defense, which was mediocre, and they just couldn't flip that switch, mediocre in the regular season, they couldn't get to where they've been those past few years when they've been either NBA champions or against Cleveland really close. And I think it's a huge part of the reason we're talking about the Raptors winning the whole thing instead of a Game 7 in Toronto on Sunday.
Yeah, another player had a hell of a game was Kyle Lowry. Had a chance to obviously win the championship in Game 5. Draymond Green got a hand on it. First player in Raptors postseason history, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists in a single half. He went for 21 in the first half, 4 of 4 from beyond the arc. How about Kyle Lowry here, bouncing back, having a great Game 6, and he finishes with another strong performance in this one. Bill, Kyle Lowry, 26 points, 4 of 7 from beyond the arc. He was outstanding.
Yeah, you said it. Kawhi Leonard's going to be Finals MVP if it hasn't been announced already. but Kyle Lowry in an alternate universe in a different timeline could absolutely win this award. And I'll add to all the things you said, which are spot on. This is a guy whose best friend was traded out from underneath him last year. He was publicly put out by it, and yet, like a consummate professional, and it turns out NBA champion, he went out there, he did his job, he had a great attitude, he created and was part of a great level of chemistry. And then today, in that 8-0 start for the Raptors, maybe that gets the nerves off, right? You're playing at Oracle, you can feel the pressure coming if you don't win this game. And Kyle Lowry single-handedly staked his team to a big early lead. I know the Warriors cut into that. That's going to happen. Teams make runs in the NBA. But I think for that Toronto team, it was Kyle Lowry early on, not Kawhi Leonard, who reminded them, you belong here, it's basketball, and we're going to be just fine. And that is another reason, to your point, Akeem, why there's no asterisks for me, because Kawhi Leonard was awesome, and Siakam was awesome, and Kyle Lowry was an absolute stud, and Van Vliet was absolutely amazing, and Gasol had really big moments. Like, this was a Raptors team with one superstar in Kawhi Leonard, but a lot of guys who played like NBA champions and earned those rings they'll be getting next season.
Kawhi Leonard, your finals MVP, won in 2014 with the Spurs. Now he joins LeBron James. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the only players to win the finals MVP for multiple teams. We don't expect Kawhi to stay in Toronto, as you said, looking to go home, play for the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard in this series was incredible. Third most points in postseason history, behind Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Kawhi Leonard, how would you describe what he did in these NBA Finals?
Yeah, he reminded us, he re-elevated his place in the game as the second best player, third best, wherever you want to put him, and everything you said. And had there been a Game 7, obviously Kawhi will take the NBA championship, his second. But if there's a Game 7, he probably passes Jordan and certainly LeBron for that record, for that mark. This is a guy who turns 28 in a few weeks, and he, in terms of just how old he is, has more NBA championships at his age than LeBron James, than Shaquille O'Neal, than Michael Jordan, than a lot of all-time greats. Oscar Robertson. I mean, this is a guy who we forgot about because he wasn't playing that whole thing with the Spurs. He is the best defensive player in the game. He's one of the best offensive players in the game. And as much as I sort of internally, and I guess here on HQ, externally scoffed at Doc Rivers, comparing him to Michael Jordan, early part of the series, I was wrong. Doc was right. Not that he's Jordan, but that his ability to impose his will literally on every aspect of the game. Himself, the way that he infused his teammates with confidence, the scoring Akeem just talked about, the defense that he was responsible for. I mean, you go all the way back to that series against Milwaukee, and he was twice as effective on Giannis Antetokounmpo as any other guy that played against him this season. He is a Hall of Famer already. He's a two-time Finals MVP, as you said, now a trio of guys that have done it for two different teams. He's got 2 NBA championships, and he's such an enigma, but if he stays in Toronto, they're obviously NBA championship caliber. If he goes like we expected the Clippers, they're an NBA championship caliber team once he arrives. He is a 27-year-old, soon-to-be 28-year-old, who has somehow crafted from a college career we never saw this coming from, a remarkable level of greatness. He's one of the best scorers in the game. I think he's the best defensive player in the game. And what he's doing, the resume he's building, the greatness he's going to compile in the league, it may just be beginning. After what I just saw from Kawhi Leonard and the way he transformed this team, Doc Rivers, I apologize. I'm a believer. I don't like giving people the heir to Jordan mantle, but Kawhi Leonard is an all-time great, and he's got a lot of great basketball ahead of him.
Bill, and I know you would echo this sentiment in the fact that throughout these playoffs, throughout this postseason, throughout the finals, Kawhi Leonard, I don't know about you, but Kawhi Leonard's become one of my favorite players. I mean, he doesn't have this personality that jumps off the screen, but I appreciate what I've seen from him, the way he talks, the way he handles himself. The dude's all business. I mean, we heard about the stories about back in college, Boardman gets paid, buckets. I mean, the Boardman's about to get paid. But what do you appreciate the most about Kawhi Leonard, his personality, just the way he goes about his business?
Yeah, I love that Boardman gets paid in buckets. For me, it's that, and all these guys, Akeem, obviously are massively talented, but I'm with you. He is one of my favorite players in the game, too, because his love for the game is egoless. And I'm not judging guys who want to star in Space Jam or have their shoe deals be a part in commercials and selling insurance and whatever else on Instagram and Twitter. Kawhi Leonard, I don't mean this in the way it's going to come across, but on the floor only, the guy's almost a basketball sociopath in that he feels nothing but the game. He's not about his ego. He's not about his shine. He's not about talking smack in the way that you and I would know about. I guess just Boardman gets paid. This is a guy that is so obsessed with winning, so focused on greatness, that whether it's the next pass or the extra rebound or that level of defense or making sure over the course of his career he becomes an offensive force, he goes out there and he plays the game the right way. And again, more talented than all of us, right? Obviously a remarkable basketball player, but this is a guy who's worked at everything that is about his game. Worked on his defensive efforts, worked on his shot. He's got that flat, weird shot that works. I love that this guy is utterly and totally about winning. And I'll add this, utterly and totally unflappable. He just seems like a guy you can't get in his head. You can't make him nervous. The idea of choking doesn't occur to him. And I think that Raptors team, which I've been around in the past, where they played great basketball and then just folded almost always against LeBron in the playoffs, he turned these guys into a totally different team from his presence and his example. We say we want guys like Kawhi Leonard. We celebrate the guys that are actually flashy. I'm with you, man. What he did as a basketball player was a thing of beauty. It was gutsy. He grinds. He's a hell of a player and worth rooting for.
Great explanation there, Bill. I want to talk about the coaches here for a moment and compare Nick Nurse and Steve Kerr. Nick Nurse had a full, healthy roster. Steve Kerr did not. How would you describe the coaching job done by both Nick Nurse in his first year as an NBA head coach and Steve Kerr, who is going for a three-peat here?
Yeah, I mean, Steve Kerr was in a brutally difficult situation. I know on the broadcast, the two guys that are former coaches and know the game inside out, there was some criticism of the lineups Kerr was throwing out there. But what are you going to do? I mean, Klay Thompson's out. Kevin Durant's out. Andre Iguodala playing well, looks like an 80-year-old at times. Kevon Looney is playing through massive pain. I thought Kerr did a great job, but Nick Nurse was a revelation. I mean, the guy threw that box and one. I mean, for folks who don't know, a box and one is a four-player zone defense with one guy tagging, in this case, Steph Curry, the opposing team's most effective offensive threat. I've seen that in high school. We've run that at the YMCA league that I play in. But in the NBA, I mean, it's hard to find in college. At the NBA, it took so much guts to do that. And I know Nurse got criticized, Hakeem, for that timeout at the end of Game 5, kind of killing the momentum. But for the most part, if you go back and you sort of watch what he did, the Warriors make these runs, often in the third quarter or the fourth quarter, and Nurse was really, really prescient and smart about just getting timeouts at the right time, killing those runs early. You'd see the Warriors go on a 4-0 run, like a little mini run, and he's calling the timeout, and he's cooling that thing down before the momentum could carry through that timeout. I thought Nurse was awesome. I thought his rotations were really interesting and really smart. He put Kyle Lowry back in the game today fairly early when Lowry had 4 fouls, and it was a fearless move that just said to Lowry and that team, I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to panic. I trust you to do your thing. I love everything about what Nick Nurse did, and that would be, in a vacuum, in any situation. You've been here before. The fact the guy had never been a head coach in the NBA, that he replaced a coach of the year last year, that the Raptors had this history, and that there was this impending sense of doom that I think a lot of us thought I did, that certainly the Warriors would hold serve in this game and force a critical Game 7. Nick Nurse was cool. He was calm. He was absolutely comfortable in his own skin. And again, I think that and Kawhi's presence, part of the reason that Raptors team responded the way they did down the stretch.
Bill, if I had told you before this series started that the Toronto Raptors would go into Oracle and beat the Warriors 3 straight times, the Warriors are going to lose 3 straight times at home at Oracle in their final season at Oracle Arena, what would you have said?
I would have pulled you aside and just asked if everything was okay, if everything was going all right. If you need a little time off, it's a stunner. I mean, and again, like, you can't overstate this to folks like us, like who are watching it from home right now. That building has been one of the most loyal basketball arenas in the country, a tough place to play when the Warriors were one of the worst organizations in major sports. And when those games started to matter over the last 4 or 5 years, it was such a tough place to play. It was such a certainty that the Warriors were going to go on runs in the third or fourth quarter. You saw teams kind of shrink in the moment. Hakeem, I am baffled by it that I just saw it. Had you told me in advance, I don't know that I could have mustered words to respond to that prediction.
Raptors are NBA champs for the first time in franchise history. Bill Ryder joining us here on CBS Sports HQ. Bill, thanks. Our live coverage continues. Steve Kerr talking live at the podium.
What I've witnessed as their coach over the last 5 years is just an incredible combination of talent and character and commitment to each other. This just doesn't happen. It just, a group of guys like this don't come around together and do what they did over the last 5 years. And I've been lucky enough to be their coach. That's what I told them in the locker room. I can't tell you my gratitude in terms of just being put in this position, to be with this group and to coach them and to help them. But I could not be any luckier as a coach, to be with these guys every day and to watch them compete. And boy, do they compete. I think they showed that in this series and throughout the playoffs. So with that, I will take some questions.
Anthony, on your right.
Anthony Slater with The Athletic. I know it's obviously so fresh now, but how much do you think, a couple of years from now, you'll look back at this season with the what ifs on the injuries with Kevin and obviously what happened to Klay tonight?
Yeah, I mean, more than the what ifs is just feeling bad for the players involved. The injuries are always part of the NBA season. Any professional sport, injuries play a huge role, and it's just the nature of these injuries, the severity of these injuries, and we'll know more about Klay. But we can sit here and say, well, if this hadn't happened or that hadn't happened, that doesn't matter. What matters is, Kevin Durant is going to miss next season with an Achilles tear, and Klay suffered a knee injury, and we'll know, as I said, we'll know more before too long. But it's just brutal. It's just brutal what these guys have had to deal with and what they're dealing with right now. And so that's my initial feeling.
Tim, over here on this side.
Welcome, The Athletic. Steve, just what is going through your mind when you see Klay go down and obviously in pain, and you already have Kevin out, you have Kevon, wearing an ice pack and a harness practically when he's not playing. As a coach, does it dawn on you that what is happening here, and what are your players saying? What's the emotion through all this?
It's amazement that we're sitting in this position, during the game, we have a chance to win the game, force a Game 7, go back to Toronto, and you just think, how has this group of guys put themselves in position to do it? And then, as I said, when Klay goes down and is out for the game, it's just, sort of you got to be kidding me. Like, this has to stop. But it's just the way it's gone. I don't know if it's related to 5 straight seasons of playing 100+ games and just all the wear and tear, but it's devastating.
Came off, it looked like he was not going to come back, and then came back down the tunnel. Did you think he might be able to play again, or was it just strictly to shoot the free throws?
Well, I think what happened was he wasn't aware of the rule that, if you don't shoot the free throws, you can't come back in the game. So I think somebody told him in the hallway. Klay being Klay, he just turned right around and came back and shot the free throws. And, we committed the automatic foul to get him out of the game. And he came back and he told me just 2 minutes. I think there was, 2 minutes left in the third. And he said, just a 2-minute rest, I'll be ready. And next thing I heard was he was done for the night from Drew Yoder, our trainer.
Over here in the aisle.
Coach, Sandeep Chanak with Yahoo Sports. Before Klay got hurt, 30 points, he was rolling, and big if here. But if he doesn't go down, how do you think the game plays out?
Doesn't matter. He went down.
Mark, right here, too. A couple of rows up.
Steve, Mark Schwartz, ESPN. You talked about the commitment that these guys have to one another. How did that commitment get you past Klay's injury to Steph having an open look for a game-winning shot potentially?
Well, they're a gifted competitive group, and even without the injured players, even without Klay, even without KD, you look out on the floor, you still got a lot of great basketball players. Andre had a huge night for us. We had to have that. You know, somebody had to come in and score for us tonight, and Andre did that. You know, Draymond was fighting like crazy all night. Looney with, you know, a fractured chest cartilage, fighting and fighting and fighting. And I thought DeMarcus came in, gave us good minutes. So we just kept going, and I think our guys relied on their experience of being in this moment. They don't get nervous. I think they just keep playing, and you know, we had a chance. So they fought and gave it every opportunity.
When Steph took the shot, what went through your mind?
I just thought it was in. I always think every shot Steph takes is going in. So, but they don't all go in. So, but what a warrior, no pun intended. You know, Steph was getting hounded this entire series. Toronto did a great job on him, sending 2-3 people at him, hounding him and harassing him, and you know, especially without Klay to rely on in that fourth quarter, I thought he got a little worn down.
Mark, last question here. We have Draymond now coming up.
It's Steve, Mark Medina Bay Area News Group. When you look at DeMarcus and the journey he took with overcoming the different injuries and how he fit in with his team, where would you put this season in context for him?
I was really pleased with the way DeMarcus performed the last couple games. You know, he came in and gave us huge minutes and gave it everything he had, committed himself to the team, and came off the bench and kept us going when we needed him. So, you know, tough season for him in terms of coming off the injury and then getting injured again in the playoffs. So it was not easy for him, but I think he contributed, and I think he learned a lot, and I think our guys really enjoyed being around him. I know I did, and he helped us. He helped us win a lot of games.
Thank you, Coach. Draymond will be right up.
All right, Steve Kerr live at the podium here on CBS Sports HQ. And hey, if you're watching right now, tell your friends to come on over to HQ. We are giving you live coverage here, wall to wall, live coverage here on CBS Sports HQ. And speaking of live coverage, wall to wall, Draymond Green now sitting down, meeting the media live here on CBS Sports HQ. Let's listen in.
There in the middle, Robert, on 3. Coming her up. Low.
Draymond, Robert Littell, BSO. What does this say about this team, the fact that you guys went through all of this and still was able to get it to a Game 6? You know, how do you feel about your teammates, about the team, the 5-year journey, and just kind of encapsulating all of that into, you know, what's happening right now?
I mean, feel great, you know, to go to war with those guys every single night. You know, through everything we went through this year. You know, you look at some of the stuff that's going on, and it's like, oh, that was 2 years ago. No, that was like 5 months ago, you know, 7 months ago, 2 months ago. Like, everything this team has been through, I'm extremely proud of the guys. You know, the way we fought, you know, it's great. But, you know, we lost. There's no moral victories. You know, congratulations to Toronto. They played a great series, and they deserve to win.
Nick, back here on the left.
Draymond, Nick Friedel, ESPN. Just following up on that, how much solace are you guys able to take now and maybe in the months ahead at the way in which you fought in these last few games, as shorthanded as you were with KD and Klay and everybody battling injuries?
I mean, you know, obviously you feel good about it, but, you know, it's no shocker to us. You know, we know what this team has been made of all along. You know, I've said it over and over again. You know, the pretty offense will always be the storyline. But this team, you know, ton of heart. You know, everybody who step on that floor display a ton of heart. So, you know, it's no shocker to us that we continue to fight. But like I said, we came up a little short. That's just it.
Third row in the center, CJ.
CJ Peterson, the San Francisco Examiner. Draymond, Steve said earlier that, just considering all the injuries you guys faced, he was, shocked you guys were in this position, able to, you guys' wherewithal and be able to come back and do all this. Considering all that, do you guys think you guys maybe left some opportunities out there, like 8 missed free throws, obviously the shot at the end of the game where Steph didn't hit it? Do you guys think you guys maybe left some stuff out there tonight?
No, I think every game you leave something out there. I don't think anyone leaves any game and feel like you did everything you could have possibly done to the T. That's just a part of what, the game that we play. Obviously, the missed free throws, they usually come back and bite you. They probably did, but there were several things that went on throughout the course of this game, which is why we lost. So, I think I can look at every loss in my career and every win and nitpick. End of the day, we lost, so it's all that matters.
Next seat over.
Yeah, Draymond, Jeff Ferrato, Bay Area News Group. Can you talk about Klay Thompson's performance, what you saw when he went down, and just how much it hurt you guys to not have him the rest of the game?
Oh, I mean, well, without Klay, it's tough. It takes some shooting off the floor, so spacing is not quite there. Obviously one of our best defenders, and probably the guy that got the most heart on his team. It's not really the most popular opinion, but, as a guy who's been with Klay for 7 years, I don't know many people with as much heart as Klay. So, the way he was playing, as aggressive as he was, he was carrying us. And, when he went down, obviously, we lose a lot. But
when he came back out of the tunnel, did you know it was just to shoot the free throws, or did you think Klay's coming back, he's going to play some more?
Oh, I knew it was just to shoot the free throws. But also with Klay, if they would have let him stay out there, he would have stayed. That's just who he is. You see he try to run back down the floor. Like, what are you doing? But that's Klay. How many people is going to play with a hamstring injury? No one. Like, no one does that. So that's just who he is, man. That guy is he's a warrior. And obviously that's, no pun intended with that, but it's no other way to describe him. He's going to give everything he got every time he step on the floor. And even some things that he don't have, which is health. He was going to try to give it more. That's just who he is. That's why we love him.
Steve on the right side, fourth row.
Steve Ashburn, NBA.com. There's been an end-of-the-run air to a lot of the coverage and discussion even tonight. But some version of you guys is going to show up in the fall and step back out on the court. Will you be dragging an accumulation of wear and tear? What do you expect is next for your group?
Yeah, I think everybody thinks it's kind of end of us. That's just not smart. We're not done yet. We lost this year. Clearly, just wasn't our year. But it's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But yeah, I hear a lot of that noise. It's the end of a run and all that jazz. I don't see it happening though. We'll be back.
Final two questions in the front and then in the back here.
Draymond Tristacrick, USA Today. Just to go back on Klay, I don't know, I'd just be curious to know if you know this. Did you know he was doing jumping jacks in the tunnel and trying to run back and forth?
No, I didn't, but it does not shock me one bit. Klay he's crazy, to say the least. He loved to play basketball, and no matter what he's got, he's going to try to be out there on the floor. So it's not shocking at all. And I'm sure he tried to get back out there on the floor, and they just would not let him. And so, it sucks. Obviously, we're praying that everything is okay. But that's a tough one.
Last question, back right.
Hey, Draymond, Rick Tittle with 95.7 The Game and Sports Byline. Knowing that if you got another T, you were going to miss potential Game 7, did you adjust your game at all? Was it on your mind, or did you just play the same you always do?
No, it wasn't on my mind. I'm not an idiot. I know that I can't get another T, so I'm not really going to flirt that line. I think, if you look at, this entire year, there was a lot of noise about players and officiating and the back and forth, and I think over the course of the last 8 to 10 weeks, that all has been cleaned up. From both sides. Officials, I think, were a lot better in communicating with us, and I think players, in turn, showed the same respect to those guys. So, I had some conversations with officials today, but that's allowed. I think, there's kind of this narrative of we don't work together. We all work together to put a great product out there on the floor and represent this league the way we all want it to be represented, as we all are part of the makeup of this league. So, I had conversations with officials, but yeah, I'm far from dumb as people think I am. I know I control myself a tad, just a little bit.
Thank you, Draymond.
Appreciate all y'all this year. It's been great. Y'all have done a great job of helping grow this game, so thanks to everything y'all do, for everything y'all do.
Thank you. Steph Curry will be the other Golden State Warrior in here for Toronto. Nick Nurse, Leonard, Lowry, Siakam.
All right, so we're awaiting Steph Curry. He's going to be coming up to the podium in a matter of moments. Draymond Green, 11 points, 19 rebounds, 13 assists. 7th player in NBA history with a triple-double when facing elimination in the NBA Finals. He also had 8 turnovers in this as well. What you're looking at here is a team comparison after Klay Thompson went out. 222 in the third quarter. As you see, the Raptors outscored the Golden State Warriors 34-25. Not by much. I mean, 9-point difference, but it made the difference. No, I mean, they won by 4 here. 9 of 23 from both sides. Hit a couple more threes. They hit their free throws. Really, this was a well-played game all around, and it really could have went either way when you look at the end of the game.
Well, the offense completely changes when Klay is not out there on the floor. Not just the 30 points, but Klay was a +5. He was 8 for 12, 4 of 6 from 3, 10 of 10 from the free throw line in a game when the Warriors went 21 for 30, uncharacteristically shooting 70% from the free throw line. So he changes everything, offensively, defensively, and there's not nearly the amount of pressure put on an opposing defense when it's just Steph out there, and it's not Steph and Klay, and certainly not Steph, Klay, and KD.
Steve Kerr was asked in the presser what would have happened had Klay Thompson played in the fourth quarter. He said it doesn't matter. Well, I'm going to say it for Steve Kerr. It would have mattered. They would have won the game if he plays in the fourth quarter. End of sentence. End of story. They win. We have a Game 7.
Game 6 NBA Finals from start to finish. Win or lose, the last game ever at Oracle Arena in Oakland before the Warriors head to the Chase Center, trying to become the 12th team to come back from 3-1. Only the second team in the finals, of course. The Cavs did it against the Warriors back in 16. And they're trying to do it without Kevin Durant. And here come the Toronto Raptors, who opened up the game hot. Kyle Lowry scored the team's first 8, make it 11. It was 8-0 Kyle Lowry. It was 11-2 Kyle Lowry. In the first half, he had 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. And Klay Thompson, the step back. He had a team-high 18 points in the first half. Let's go to the second quarter with the Warriors down by a point. Andre Iguodala couldn't hit at the free throw line, but he can make that. He had 22 points, most this postseason. A minute later, it's Pascal Siakam as this game went back and forth, back and forth. 18 lead changes in this one. Late second, Kawhi. He was up and down. There were times when I'm not really sure if Kawhi was on the floor. He finished with 22, and the Raptors led by 3 at the half. See Kyle Lowry, first player in Raptors postseason history with 25-5 in a single half.
We go to the third where Klay Thompson catches fire. Hits deep 3, we're tied at 76. A few minutes later, the Splash Brother, another 3. Keep feeding Klay Thompson. Warriors up 4. But then Klay Thompson gets injured. A turning point in this game. Warriors get the steal. Klay gets the outlet pass. Fouled going for the dunk by Danny Green. Immediately clutches his left knee. Now, he would go to the locker room, at least head to the locker room. Somebody rush and say, hey, you got to come make your free throws or you're going to be done. You won't be able to play. Well, he comes back to make his free throws, but he would not return. A left knee injury, 30 points, 5 rebounds. As you can see, Steph Curry frustrated. He knows he goes out, and our chances are not good to win this game. Early fourth, Fred VanVleet. Buckets. We're tied at 91. Later, tied at 101. VanVleet. Shocker. The former Wichita State Shocker. Raptors up 3. VanVleet, 22 points, 5 of 11 from beyond the arc off the bench. I mean, X factor. He's got a clothing line that says, bet on yourself. This dude bet on himself the entire postseason. Under a minute to play. DeMarcus Cousins driving, scoring. Cousins, 12 points, 5 rebounds off the bench. Under 15 to play. Danny Green, just dribble it up. Just dribble out the clock. Just dribble out. Oh, no. What are we doing? He turns it over, and the Warriors get the ball back. A critical turnover late for Toronto. Less than 10 seconds to play. Andre Iguodala inbound to Steph Curry in his hands for the lead. No. Warriors recover, call a timeout, but they've got no timeouts left. Technical foul in Golden State. Kawhi Leonard would make the technical free throw. Raptors get the ball. Kawhi would be fouled again, hit 2 more free throws. Curry with a heave as time expires, but it doesn't matter. We the North, we the champs. Oracle Arena closed, and it's closed by the Toronto Raptors winning their first NBA title in franchise history. Kawhi Leonard, your NBA Finals MVP, also won in 2014 with the Spurs. He joins LeBron James and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the only players to win the Finals MVP for multiple teams. The road team won 5 straight road games in a single NBA Finals for the first time in history. The Raptors won all 3 games at Oracle Arena. Nick Nurse, 9th rookie head coach in history to win an NBA championship. Toronto plus 2.5. The over cashes at 212 in the final game at Oracle Arena. All right, fourth quarter comparison. Fred VanVleet, Steph Curry, and it was Fred VanVleet with the upper hand, 12-4 in the scoring column.
That's why he got a vote from QB Brown to be Finals MVP. He was the only one that got a vote aside from Kawhi Leonard, and it was a performance like this. Fred VanVleet was reliable throughout the finals.
And the Toronto Raptors are NBA champs for the first time in franchise history. The winning coach, Nick Nurse, live at the podium.
Sure.
Tim, last row in the back.
Nick, Tim Reynolds with the AP. Congratulations, of course. I know you are your least favorite topic, so I'm probably going to regret asking this question, but what do you think your story says as far as a guy who played mid-major, a guy who had to go to Britain, a guy that had to win a couple titles in the G League before you got that phone call to come talk about offense, and the story you were telling earlier, yesterday or today or something, they all blend in now. What do you think your story is going to mean to the coach who doesn't think he's ever going to get the shot?
Well, I would hope it inspires some people that are in those situations to keep working. You know, I always say that all those jobs meant the world to me at the time, right? Winning with Birmingham in '96, or winning with Rio Grande Valley, whatever year that was, and those games and jobs meant the world to me, and I loved all those jobs. And I think you can't do you can't do very good work if you don't love what you're doing. And I don't know, and I never really got discouraged. I didn't really care at the level I was coaching at. I was just trying to learn and get better. That's it.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So a lot went into building a champion, and Masai Ujiri is going to get all the credit, and the reports are already out that the Washington Wizards are ready to throw a whole boatload of money at him. Fired the Coach of the Year, Dwayne Casey, bumped up Nick Nurse, and now let's go to the most significant acquisition. That's Kawhi Leonard at the podium at Oracle.
Kawhi, Paul Antunes, ESPN Brazil. Congratulations. I'm just wondering, When you first got traded to Toronto, what went through your mind? Was it one of your preferred destinations? And how did your feelings evolve or change during this run, and how do you feel now?
I mean, we all know where my destinations were. But obviously, you know, like I said, when I was there on my opening day meeting, that, you know, I was focused on the now. And, you know, I wanted to make history here. And that's all I did. I just, you know, I'm still playing basketball no matter what jersey I have on. And the guys here been, you know, making runs in the playoffs before I came. So I know they're a talented team. And, you know, I just came in with the right mindset. Let's go out and win ball games. I text Kyle probably a day later or the day that I got traded and told him, let's go out and do something special. I know your best friend left. I know you're mad, but, you know, let's make this thing work out. And we're here today.
Mark here in the third row.
Kawhi, Mark Schwartz, ESPN. Wondering what went through your mind when Steph Curry had that look, and whether you thought that the game could be in their hands at that moment, and also your thoughts on when Klay Thompson went down with that injury.
Well, first I'll start with Klay. You know, I hope he's okay. You know, I never want to see, you know, a good friend of mine go out like that. I hope he's able to, you know, recover from it, or, you know, nothing's serious. And I just, you know, when he went down, I just really thought about him. I didn't care about the game that much. And, you know, once he left, we got to flip our mindset back to, like, trying to beat the Warriors. So that's what I did. And with the shot with Steph, it didn't look like it was a good shot. I mean, he hits those shots, but I wasn't too worried about it at that moment. Obviously, he can make that. He made it millions of times, but I just was focused on the rebound. You know, I've been in situations like that in the finals that I lost up 2 or 3 points, and we lost that game because of rebounds. You know, I forgot who shot the ball. I mean, you guys know the story. It was the last 2 possessions for Miami. They got 2 chances to shoot threes. Well, 4 chances at the basket out of 2 possessions. And that was my focus. I was just trying to get the rebound. And once he missed the ball, I tried to keep tipping it so some more time could run out. Didn't want to grab it right away so they could foul me. And Draymond ended up with it with 0.9 seconds and called a timeout and kept moving from there.
Reed in the back.
Kawhi, Reed Forgrave with CBS Sports, straight ahead. You've been through this roller coaster of a couple years, and now you're sitting with the finals trophy, the MVP trophy next to you again. And I'm curious how these couple years have changed you as a man and changed the way you look at faith and kind of your priorities in life.
Well, just the year last year, you know, a lot of people were doubting me. You know, thought I was either faking an injury or didn't want to play for a team. And that was disappointing to me that was out in the media, because I love the game of basketball. Like I always say, if we're not playing this game, if we're hurt, I mean, you're down. So me just, you know, going through that, and, you know, I just knew that I have to make myself happy and no one else. And I have to trust myself. And it doesn't matter what anybody has to say about me. I know who I am as a person. I know how I feel. And always just trust yourself. And that was my goal and my focus. And, you know, that's one of the things that, you know, I take on the floor. I don't care about what media has to say about me, or if they want me to score whatever, 30 points, because I did the game before. I'm gonna come out and play the right way. I'm not trying to make headlines, and that's just things that I pretty much learned just throughout this journey of being in the NBA. So I mean that's how I just keep growing up as a man, and that's why I say I just think about my past life and try to learn from situations and be wise and learn from others.
Last two questions standing on the left side.
Kawhi, Dan Wicke with the Los Angeles Times. Along those lines, you since media day, you've said, I just want to play basketball. I'm curious what it was like emotionally to hear that final horn, to know that a year after you had basketball sort of taken away from you, that you were able to be on stage with an MVP trophy, to be in a locker room. What did that mean to you?
It meant a lot. Like I said, last summer was tough. I was still rehabbing, and just trusted the process really with myself, and told myself I'll be back. I wasn't gonna come back until I could be the player I am today. I wanted to come back in the same shape and form without, coming out playing 5 games and then re-injuring something. I wanted to be able to play the season, or what I did this year. I wasn't able to play 82, but I'm happy that I got to the 60 games. But just be able to win this championship this year is just something special for me, because how the last year everybody was looking at me, and I stayed true to myself, and I had a great support system. And once I got here to Toronto, they understood everything, and the move kept moving from there.
Last question standing in the back.
Martenzie Johnson, the undefeated. You're obviously known as someone known for their defense. How special was it to receive the MVP award from Bill Russell?
It was very special. Obviously, I didn't come out in this series trying to win it. It was a whole group collectively. Tonight, Fred played amazing in that fourth. Kyle played amazing tonight throughout the whole game. Pascal played big. And, I just kept striving and, pushing. And, I ended up with the trophy, but everybody deserves it.
Thank you, Kawhi.
Kawhi Leonard, your 2019 NBA Finals MVP. He joins this list. He's on all sorts of historic lists. Winning a Finals MVP, first season with the team. Magic, the rookie season back in 1980, Moses Malone, when he joined the Sixers and they went not faux, but Kevin Durant did it his first season with the Golden State Warriors. He won 2 of them. And there is Kawhi Leonard. He's the first player to win Finals MVP in both conferences. He won it in the Western Conference with the San Antonio Spurs, and now here in the East with the Toronto Raptors.
Live coverage continues here on CBS Sports HQ. Steph Curry live at the podium.
I think it's iconic in the sense of our entire history of this organization and how we got to this point. And whenever I drive by it, I'll have great memories of, again, what we've been able to accomplish in this building. And as we move across the bridge, want to be able to continue that and create new memories. So hopefully, every fan that was in this building appreciates the journey and the ride. Every fan that was watching how Oakland held us down for 47 years, and turn the page to bigger and better things coming for this franchise.
Fourth row on your right, Steph.
Steph, Mike Gannon, Toronto Sun. You saw a lot of Fred VanVleet in this series. What do you know about him now that you didn't know before?
I mean, he's a gamer. He hit some big shots, not just the defensive pressure. He hit a lot of daggers that never seemed to panic when the ball was in his hands. And even tonight, he hit like 3 of them that kept their momentum on their side. So I obviously saw a lot of bodies on defense, but he was one that took the challenge, and obviously he's a champion now, so well deserved.
Next row back on the right.
Steph, comparing the way you lose 3 years ago in the finals with almost got shut down at the very last second in the Game 7 to this finals. With so many injuries, so many people got down. So which one is more painful for you guys?
I mean, losing hurts no matter what the situation is. Nobody likes that feeling, whether it's a Game 7 or Game 6 or what have you. But, I'll echo what Draymond said. It's kind of how do you respond and what do you how hard do you work to try to get back to the stage. Soak up this feeling because obviously we celebrated, we've had champagne, we've had rings, but this is the more motivating feeling in terms of how do you respond, how do you turn the page to new challenges ahead. So we'll be all right.
Mark, Janie, and then Howard, last three.
Steph, Mark Schwartz, ESPN. First, can you explain how you felt watching Klay go down? And secondly, how much did you have left at the end when you had that look to possibly put your team ahead and go on to Game 7?
It's just tough in terms of a guy like Klay that left it all out there. He was playing amazing tonight. And to see a freak play like that where, he lands awkwardly, I don't know the diagnosis yet, but you think about the person and the guy and how much he loves to play the game, and that's the only thoughts you have. It's really not about, what it means in terms of playing basketball. It's just I'm more concerned about him as an individual and hoping that he's all right. So I kind of, leave it at that. But the shot was one I take 10 out of 10 times. And, we ran a play that was kind of we got a decent look off of, kind of a bobble catch. And, I could see the rim, so I shot it. I'll live with that. We always talk about that, myself and Klay, in terms of shots that we take. You live with it. And, I'd shoot that shot every day of the week.
Janie, back center.
Steph, Janie McCauley from Associated Press. You've said so many times this season, how difficult it is to win it all and how you guys need to cherish every moment together while this team is together. Do the events of the last couple days where Kevin has surgery and Klay goes down just show you how many things have to go right for a championship? I mean, and how things sometimes don't work out.
For sure. I mean, in the history of this NBA, you could highlight every team that was supposed to win or had the best team and all the different storylines. And, 82 games in a full playoff run, a lot can happen. And it's just a matter of how much you fight and just leave it all out there on the floor. I think the way that we have talked and described this journey and whatnot, I don't think there's ever been a situation where we've taken anything for granted. And that's something I can look back and just we all can hold our head high that, we gave it everything we got. To your point about, two guys who would go down and the game's kind of taken away from them in those moments, it's not a good feeling at all. And it's kind of a helpless feeling in terms of, two freak plays that, send these guys back to the locker room. So it's tough, but it's part of basketball. It's part of the game. Again, I just, hope their recoveries are strong and they come back, better than they were before.
Howard, last question here on the left side.
Howard Beck from Bleacher Report. Steph, when you think about the toll a 5-year run can take, all the extra games, you think about some key free agencies, the injuries. Sean has talked about possibly retiring. Does this feel like, if not necessarily the end, then kind of a major transition point for who you guys have been? You expect serious change potentially coming forward?
I mean, I'm not sure. There's a lot of, obviously, decisions that will go into the summer, and we'll deal with those accordingly. But, yeah, I think true champions like we are, we should be able to adapt and keep the same kind of DNA no matter what our roster looks like next year, and have high hopes about being back on the stage, whether it looks the same or not, or obviously we're changing buildings and all that type of stuff. There is going to be some change, but we'll enjoy this summer. Like you said, it's been a long journey. We've played a lot of basketball. Get away from the game a little bit, refresh the minds. Guys go through some rehabs and get back stronger. Next season will be next season, and we'll come back with the right mentality. So it's kind of hard to talk about because it's a tough way to go out, and it's tough to lose in the finals. But story's not over yet.
Thank you, Steph.
Well, the story is over this season, and the story is over at Oracle Arena, where the Raptors win 114-110 in the last game ever played at Oracle Arena. Steph Curry had just 4 points in the fourth quarter. Maybe he scores a little bit more. Maybe they win this game. They have Klay Thompson in the fourth quarter. Maybe they win this game. It's a what if. Maybe they have a healthy Kevin Durant for the entire series. Maybe they win this series in three-peat. We can discuss this. We'll go back and forth all throughout the summer. People go, the Warriors lost if they had Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, DeMarcus Cousins. Maybe they win. Well, they didn't. The Raptors win 114-110, their first ever NBA championship.